always better when you yield to the program of heaven. So I'm not going to give my speech. I'm not going to give any address. I'm going to bypass all of that. I'm going to thank all the delegates from the different nations from coming. Some of the things that we should do at the beginning, we're going to do at the end. That's what I'm referring to. But I want to thank Ambassador Gil Askel for coming tonight and accepting to address us. We are very privileged that we'll be listening to what the Mashav is doing. And we do hope to be able to connect with the Mashav at a practical level. But I want to honor the word that I gave to our special guest this evening. I noticed that in spite of everything that was going on, he kept to his word. He arrived on time, and I want to honor that. Later on, when I give my speech, I will make a reference to this. But permit me to introduce Mr. Natan Sharansky. He's a prominent Israeli politician. That's an understatement. He's actually a father of the nation. Natan is a human rights activist and author who spent many years in a Soviet prison for allegedly spying for the Defense Intelligence Agency. In 2003, he was appointed Minister of Jerusalem Affairs. Before I read on, let me just mention my favorite part of Natan's CV is that while he was incarcerated, he actually played mental chess against himself. He was playing against himself alone in prison without any board. So I am still wondering what, the way that that mind actually works, and it's a very, very special mind. But in 2003, Natan was appointed Minister of Jerusalem Affairs, Minister without portfolio, responsible for Jerusalem, social and Jewish diaspora affairs. Previously, he had served as the Deputy Prime Minister of Israel, Minister of Housing and Construction from March 2001, Interior Minister of Israel from July 1999 and reside in July 2000, Minister of Trade and Industry from 1996 to 1999. He was re-elected to the Knesset in March 2006 as a member of the Likud party, but resigned from the Knesset in November 2006 to form the Adelson Institute for Strategic Studies. Since 2007, Sharansky has been chairman of the board of Beit Atefusot, the Jewish Diaspora Museum, and chairman of the executive of the Jewish Agency for Israel since 2009. In 2005, he was 11th on the list of Time magazine's 100 most influential people in the scientists and thinkers category. Before I invite us to stand and welcome Mr. Sharansky, I just want to acknowledge we have another father from Africa. I will be introducing him later, but I just want us to actually put our hands together and appreciate the presence of Professor Jerry Ghana from Nigeria. Professor Jerry Ghana will be responding on our behalf after Mr. Sharansky has spoken. Ladies and gentlemen, may I invite you to please, let's stand on our feet and welcome Mr. Natan Sharansky. Chairman,
Okay, dear friends, welcome to Jerusalem. What a pleasure to see so many friends, partners, who together with us are praying, dreaming about in gathering of exiles about rebuilding our nation and building strong bridges between Jerusalem and every nation of the world. Dear friends, sometimes it is said that the very existence of Jewish people is the testimony of the presence of God in our lives. Jewish people see the miracle of Exodus from Egypt as the best revelation of God to Jewish people. And our prayers every day in our morning prayer, we're going back to the miracle of liberation from the slavery in Egypt, of the 10 plagues, of the splitting of the Yam Suf, the Red Sea, and all those miracles which helped us to emerge as one nation and going straight from slavery to Egypt to the Sinai and getting 10 commandments and then bringing them to the world. So I think in our generation time, in my life, in the life of my people, we are very happy that we went twice through the new modern revelation of God to Jewish people and to the world. One is the creation of the State of Israel. After thousands of years of exile, of dreams, of prayer, 3 times a day, saying next year in Jerusalem, without any sense, in the world of pogroms and persecutions and awful suffering, and for Jew in Spain, or in Morocco, or in Russia, or in Germany, to speak about next year in Jerusalem. It seemed crazy, and it happened. 2,000 years after it happened. And the other miracle through which I went in my life is the miracle of the exodus of Soviet Jews from the Soviet Union. And I want to say a few words about it. I was born in Soviet Union, and I was one of 3 million Jews who lived there in the former Soviet Union. And I lived in not such small city in Ukraine, which today is known to all the world. Then nobody knew about it. It was Donetsk. Today it's known because that is the center of war between Russia and Ukraine. But then it was one Soviet Union, and there was the city where there were probably quite a lot of Jews lived there. Maybe 40, 50,000 Jews lived in that city. And there was nothing Jewish in our life except from anti-Semitism. No language, no holiday, no prayer book, no synagogue, no school. We didn't know such words as synagogue, or Pesach, Passover, or Purim. We didn't know such words. Brit Milah, Bar Mitzvah. Not only we didn't have them, we didn't know such words. But we knew, because that was the policy of the Soviet Union, forced assimilation. They wanted to erase religion and to erase nation from your life. But we knew that we are Jewish, because there is anti-Semitism, because it is written in the idea of your parents, Jew, and so all the conversations at home are about restrictions and discrimination. And to think maybe we can fight against this injustice or this anti-Semitism, you don't think about it, because there are no values in your life except of the value of survival. There was no meaning in this anti-Semitism. What is my guilt? I don't know anything good about this word Jew. It was like you are born with some disease, and you know that you have to learn how to live with this disease. And the answer of your parents was very simple. Because you're a Jew, you must be the best in school, in physics, in mathematics, in chess, in music, whatever you're doing, you must be the best, and maybe that will help you to survive. That's all. And so we are trying to adjust ourselves to this life in the Soviet Union. 3 million Jews, knowing nothing about our Jewishness except from anti-Semitism. And there was iron curtain, so-called iron curtain, between us and the free world. And then, exactly 50 years ago, Jerusalem was reunited. The enemies of Israel tried to destroy Israel, and Israel not only destroyed all these enemies, but it emerged victorious and reunited Jerusalem. And you don't know, you know so little about Israel and about Jerusalem. You don't appreciate the power of all this. But then suddenly you see how people around you, those who like you and those who hate you, they all start talking about you and Israel. They say, look, on your soldiers, how could they do it? Or how dared you do it? It depends what they feel. But you don't understand why they say that it's my soldiers. Why they connect me to Israel. And that's when we started reading in the underground from the books which were secretly smuggled to the Soviet Union by tourists. We started reading about ourselves, about our history. And suddenly you find out that only if you make an effort, intellectual, mental effort, and you start thinking about yourself, not as a Soviet citizen, whose whole history is from Bolshevik communist revolution from 1917. But if you start thinking about yourself as part of Jewish people whose history is thousands of years, and which started from Exodus from Egypt. And it's so easy to feel yourself that you continue this Exodus from Egypt. And you look at the pictures of this soldier near the Kotel, near the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem in 1967. And you understand that people of your age, exactly of your age, they are part of this unbelievable history. And you also can be part of this history. And that's when, for the first time in your life, you feel that there are values that are more important than your physical life. You have a history and you want to be part of it. You have people, and here are Jews who are coming as tourists from New York, from London, from Miami, from Johannesburg, and they're saying, oh, your father is from Odessa, and my father is from Odessa. If only my father will decide differently, I could be in your place. We are family, we want to help you. You find out that all these people from all over the world, they're all from Odessa. They're all one people. They say that they're my family. And most important, you find out that there is a state of Israel which is ready to send airplanes to the end of the world, but to bring you free. And that's when suddenly you have strength. You have your identity, you have your people, you have your history, and you have your country which calls you to come. And that's when you have strength to start not adjusting yourself to the Soviet life, but to speak the truth to the power. To say publicly, I really don't want to be here. I want to go to Israel. And the moment you break this wall of silence, you feel yourself a free person. Then you have strength to feel, to speak freely for yourself, for other Jews, and for many non-Jews. That's how I became the spokesman of two movements, Jewish Zionist movement in the Soviet Union and human rights movement. As an activist of human rights movement, I was also working with many Christians who also were persecuted. You know, when I was arrested, 50,000 Pentecostals in the Soviet Union who lived far in Siberia because they were persecuted and they were running away from Soviet authorities because all what they wanted to teach their children to their faith. But 50,000 of Pentecostals in the former Soviet Union, as they found out later, of course, were fasting, praying for my release. Why? Because all what I helped as a spokesman of our movement, I connected them to the foreign journalists, and they connected them to the communities in America with Pentecostals. And that's how they started their struggle for freedom. So we Jews were very happy to lead this struggle, to break the Iron Curtain, and to help to the others. And I have to say, we could never survive in one day if from our first day this didn't become the struggle of all the Jews of the world. And when I was arrested, and I spent 9 years in prison, and I was accused of high treason, and knew nothing about what's happening in the world, and was told many times that I'm alone and abandoned, and that nobody will find out what is happening to me, without knowing, I knew that they are lying. I knew that they are lying because I knew that our people will not abandon me. And I knew, as I was repeating the Psalm 23, Gam ki gelech b'gei tzalmavet lo yerara ki ata imadi, and when I'll go through the valley of death, you'll fear no evil, because you are with me. And who's you? God, King David, State of Israel, my wife Avital, all of them together. They were with me in prison. So when I was playing chess, and I played thousands and thousands of games of chess in my head, and won all of them, of course. So I felt very strong, because they cannot defeat me intellectually, they cannot defeat us spiritually. We Jewish people together, encouraged and strengthened by the prayers of so many people in the world, we will win. That's how I felt. And really the day came after 9 years, and the airplane came and took me straight from Soviet prison to Germany. In Germany, American ambassador took me to cross the bridge, Klinika Bridge, and the Israeli airplane, small airplane, with my wife, with the team of Israelis, was waiting for me. So the day which started in Soviet prison finished near the Kotel with all my people, with our leaders, with our rabbis, singing and dancing. So if somebody knows what is the direct way from hell to paradise, it's me. So now it's already, and after I left Soviet Union, I was one of the first political prisoner whom new regime of Soviet Union had to release under the pressure of all the world. All the world. There was not one leader in the world that my wife and her friends didn't open the doors and didn't mobilize them for this struggle. And then after I was released, and one after another, other prisoners of Zion were released, and those Jewish activists who were fighting for our rights were released, and suddenly Soviet authorities had no choice but to permit free immigration of Soviet Union, of Soviet Jews. 2 million Jews left Soviet Union, and what happened to Soviet Union? It fell apart. Exactly like in Egypt, the same history. These tyrants couldn't exist without Iron Curtain. And the moment Jews are free, Iron Curtain is raised, regime falls apart, and all the world is a better place. So that is the testimony of the presence of God which we have in our generation. And of course, 30 years ago, I went straight from hell to paradise. So when you are in the skies in paradise, there is only one way, go down. So now for 30 years, I'm already going down with every year, and I'm still in paradise. In Israel paradise, where we continue building this country, building our people, and strengthening our ties. I have an honor of being the chairman of Jewish Agency. And let me tell you a few words about Jewish Agency. Jewish Agency was created long before Israel was created by Ben-Gurion and Chaim Weizmann, our founding fathers. In 1929, when they realized that in order to build the state, you need solidarity of all the Jewish people of the world. And Jewish Agency was created as the organization which is connecting Jewish communities all over the world and the future state. And since then, 3.5 million Jews were brought from all over the world, from Russia, from Arab countries, from Ethiopia, from France in these days, from Brazil, and many other countries, 3.5 million by Jewish agency. Billions of dollars were mobilized, and cities and kibbutzim were built with the help of all Jewry through Jewish agency. All the state which exists today was built already before it was formally created. Agricultural systems, and you're now enjoying Moshav, but all this agricultural system was built even before Israel as the state existed. And the army, Haganah, and welfare system, today there are so many problems with Obamacare. Everybody agrees that welfare system which we in Israel have is the best in the free world. It was all, the base of it was created by Jewish agency with the help of Jewish people before the state was created. So there are other ways to build nation if the people are mobilized, if they want it. So Jewish agency not only is proud of continuing its contribution to build Jewish nation, but we are happy to build the bridges with many countries in the world. Only recently I was in Uganda and in South Africa, where we have small project, 10. Our activists, young Jewish activists, going to the most difficult slums in the world. In Uganda, it was terrible what I saw there. But even in these slums, they are bringing our experience. And the young Jews, just after the army, they are helping the hospitals. They're helping to organize real youth movements in schools. And that's what we can do. That's how we can pay you back for your prayers and for your assistance and for your solidarity. Thank you for coming. Let's keep strengthening our bridges and fulfilling the dreams of our people and the prophecies of our prophets. Thank you.